It was 35 years ago that I first met His Holiness, and almost 30 years ago that we started the American Himalayan Foundation. Today we have 170 different projects throughout the Himalayan region, and many of them are to help Tibetans and their cousins, the Sherpas. Every year our team literally encounters hundreds of Tibetans and knows of their hardships firsthand. The Dalai Lama first visited the United States in 1979. He was the guest of our city when my wife was the mayor. His Holiness' first speech ever in America was to the Commonwealth Club and the World Affairs Council, 79. And he spoke of his desire for peace and reconciliation with the Chinese government. At almost the same time, the normalization of U.S.-China relations, we established a sister city with Shanghai. It was very active and is today. During that period, in the 80s, you had two mayors of Shanghai that went on to be leaders in China, Jiang Zemin and Zhu Rongji. For almost 20 years, my wife and I delivered letters from His Holiness to the Chinese leadership. On the behalf of the Chinese, His Holiness, we implore the Chinese government to engage with the Tibetans. In a world where leaders of very different points of view meet regularly, you should know that the Chinese have refused to meet with the Dalai Lama since 1957, over 50 years. And you have to wonder what a great nation like China has to fear from a simple monk like His Holiness who preaches nonviolence. In fact, when you ask the Chinese directly, as I have, why you won't sit down with His Holiness, they have no good answer. In fact, they have no answer at all. Yesterday, my wife, on the floor of the U.S. Senate, spoke at length about our discussions with the Chinese over the year. She entered into the congressional record. You all can access it. All the letters that were delivered by us from His Holiness to the Chinese leadership. I think that the Chinese have felt that for some reason oppression will work. We know that it won't work. You here today are a symbol of why we don't want to put up with it anymore. I think that this movement, for the first time, is bringing out other voices in China. Ones who say maybe there needs to be a different path. I think that it is very important between now and going forward towards the Olympics this summer that this movement continue. I hope that it stays nonviolent. I think that's what we all want. Certainly that's what His Holiness wants, even though our frustration level could not be higher. Last week, however, we remembered the 40th anniversary of the passing of Martin Luther King. We should note that in his I Have a Dream speech, he said that we should remember not to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from cups of bitterness and hatred. I am sure His Holiness would want us all to stay on that path. The Chinese must end their brutal crackdown in Tibet and stay out of, I got a last page here, it's got to stay out of the monasteries. We must continue to speak out and urge the Chinese to think anew. Thank you very much.